I don't know what to say. Look, I probably should wait to make a video on Andor until the whole season's over next week. Until the whole series is over next week. But the third arc of this Gorman Massacre, and we're going to get into spoilers just so you know, it is unlike anything I've seen. Before I get into why I think this is so unbelievable, the way they told this arc and this story and how it leads into Rogue One and how it deepens the character of Cassian and all these things, and we're going to talk about it all. I just want to clarify to some people who might think, I don't get it. The show's a little boring. The show's a little slow. Or the show is great, but why are we acting like great TV shows don't come out all the time? Like, is this better than Breaking Bad? Is this better than Game of Thrones? No, it's on the same level, but the difference is people who watch, like myself, those shows, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Game of Thrones, the shows that stand the test of time and are the greatest TV shows of all time, mixed with people who also watch, Loki on Disney Plus or The Penguin on HBO Max, all these like superhero or fantasy TV shows or movies on these streaming services. Those people are not used to, we are not used to seeing a property like Star Wars or Marvel or DC taken as seriously as Tony Gilroy and company have just taken Andor. This was a TV show that when it was announced, not a single soul was excited for it. Not a single soul was asking for a Cassian Andor origin story spin-off show. But there's a reason it was announced and greenlit and given all the money. And it's because Tony Gilroy said, I'm going to take Star Wars and turn it into the most serious, dramatic TV show, the most intelligent piece of storytelling not only has Star Wars ever seen, not only has Disney Plus has ever seen, but one of the great TV arcs in the history of television. Episode 8, The Gorman Massacre, is one of the 10 highest rated IMDb TV episodes of all time. You can go check that out right now. That's what's making this so special. Not only that it's risen to the level of the Breaking Bads of the world, but that it's set in the Star Wars universe. It shows what you can do with these big IP if you take it seriously. Not to say that Dave Filoni doesn't take Ahsoka seriously, but he doesn't treat his audience with the respect in terms of not spoon-feeding you every little detail or going multiple episodes without an action scene like Tony Gilroy does. And for some people, that can be a turnoff. I completely understand that. I live with somebody, he's my best friend, he thinks the show's a little boring, but he really liked episodes 8 and 9. He's not hyping them up like we are, like a lot of people that are watching this video are, because he isn't attached to the first 7 episodes. But if you are locked into those first 7, which a lot of people, most people are, the payoff of this, the payoff of Cassian Andor's character, the payoff of what Bix does, Mon Mothma's speech, how it ties into Rebels. I have chills on my arm right now. I've seen a lot of arguments, is this Star Wars, is this not Star Wars, this is a new version of Star Wars. At a certain point, you just have to say, like, fuck it. Who cares? Who even cares what it is? If this is what I get to watch for 2.5 hours every week for 4 weeks, I don't care if it's not classic Star Wars. I don't care if it doesn't feel like the prequels or the sequels or it doesn't feel like a Disney Plus TV show. It's perfect. It is entertainment at its highest level. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, it doesn't feel like Star Wars did when I was a kid. I'm not a kid. I've grown up. And Star Wars has grown up with me. Do I want all Star Wars to be like this? No. But do I want all Star Wars to be taken as reverently as this show is? How could you say no to that? Let's talk about these episodes in particular. There's 3 specific things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Syril. I want to talk about Bix. I want to talk about the Gorman Massacre. Those are the 3 things. We're going to hit on Mon Mothma. But before all that, this show is on another level so clearly with Tony Gilroy's idea of the Force. It is not some silly trick. It is not some ooh and ah, ooh, look what I can do. I'm Sabine, I can just shove Ezra across the gap out of complete nowhere. It's small. It's intimate. It's unexplainable. It's scary. It's overwhelming. It surrounds us all. Just because you're not related to a certain character from 100 years ago doesn't mean the Force isn't guiding you on your path. And that scene with, I believe, a Force healer picking out Cassian Andor, feeling the bruise on his right shoulder, his left shoulder, his right shoulder, I don't really remember, giving him that eloquent discussion about how, oh, I forgot what it felt like to have hope. I forgot what it felt like to have purpose. And meeting you here, I've seen what you're capable of. I know what you have in store for the future. And Cassian, rightfully so, being like, let's relax with all this. But the more she talks about him, the more she's able to say things that he probably believes about himself deep down, the more scared he got. It wasn't an idea of, I don't believe in this person, please stop talking to me. It was, I don't want what she's saying to become a reality. I just want Bix, and I want to get out of here. But for whatever reason, I needed to be here to spark the rebellion. That's unbelievable. It was so delicate and soft. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't someone reaching out and grabbing a lightsaber and cutting somebody in half. And again, Tony Gilroy's idea of, what if we took the Force a little more seriously? That's what it looks like. Obviously, this whole series felt like it was leading up to the Gorman Massacre, and it did that pretty well. The second the citizens, these French Gorman citizens, started singing their national anthem, every fiber of my being started to tense up because I knew all hell was going to break loose. And it's directed so well, and it's so intricately structured. The way you see certain characters die, the way you see people interact, and you're like, is he going to shoot Dedra? Where is Syril? Here comes K2SO. There's a lot going on, but the fight between Cassian and Syril was choreographed so perfectly. I could see everything that was happening, every punch I felt in my body. It felt like I was watching an MMA fight. And the idea that Syril's whole existence in this show, in his life, was based around this guy Cassian Andor, and he has him dead to rights, and he can't shoot him because Cassian in that moment says, "Who are you?" And then Syril dies, knowing that the guy he spent his whole life trying to find does not know who he is, does not care who he is. That was as if the Joker was about to kill Batman, and Batman literally said, "I don't know who you are. Please move away from me." That was Shakespearean. Truly unbelievable. I saw someone say that line was this season's version of Andy Serkis's "I Can't Swim." I couldn't agree more. And Syril goes out like a little bitch, and that makes total sense. The end of the episode with, I forget the character's name, on the loudspeaker, on the communications thing, saying, basically pleading, is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? And Andor driving away with K2 behind him, a tear down his face, knowing maybe if I stayed here a year ago, I could have stopped this from happening. Luthen was right. If it burns, it will burn brightly. And this was the tipping point for Mon Mothma and Bail Organa to begin what we now know as the official rebellion 1 year before the Battle of Yavin. Mon Mothma's speech, Genevieve O'Reilly, please, Emmys, what's going on? We're going to nominate this for, best drama, obviously. He got nominated last year. And I'm sure Diego Luna's going to get some nods, and he should, no doubt about it. But Genevieve O'Reilly giving this speech, the way she looks down, takes a deep breath before muttering the words, "Emperor Palpatine," that is next level shit. That is like peak cinema acting your ass off. I never thought I needed to see the origin story of not only Cassian Andor, but Mon Mothma. And in Rogue One, when she introduces Cassian to Jyn, that has a whole new meaning now. And when she says in the original trilogy, many people died to get the Death Star plans, that has a whole new meaning now. This, I can't even describe to you how good this is. And I mean, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, I hope I'm pushing you to see it now. But lastly, and I actually think there's a chance I could get emotional just talking about this. Here we go. But Bix leaving Cassian. They have this conversation. He's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Gorman was too much for me. Let's just go live in the woods and raise a family and just hide. The rebellion's fine. But that Force user told Bix, Cassian has a greater purpose. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's you. But he has a greater purpose. And they have this conversation. Cassian wants to leave and take Bix. And Bix is like, I knew immediately she's leaving him. And it cuts to him in bed alone. It is 100 times more sad than if she would have died in his arms. The reason is, and I never thought they would do this, but I guess you have the liberty of knowing how Cassian ends up, his fate. They narratively played this whole arc into his inevitable demise. The idea that she leaves him this note, I can't have you consistently putting the rebellion, a greater purpose, in front of, or I can't have you putting me in front of the rebellion, right? So I'm going to leave for the both of us. I'm going to choose the rebellion for the both of us. If I eliminate myself from the equation, you can now focus on your main objective. And then the speech continues. And she says, oh no, here I go. This is so sad. And she says, and when it's all over, and when we've won, which we will win, we know that they win, I'll find you. And we'll do all the things that we wanted to do. That's like watching a character death. That's like reliving Cassian's death, but now you care about it. Because, in Rogue One, when everybody dies, it's sad. But we only really have that attachment to Jyn. That's the only character story that we've got in that movie. But now watching Rogue One again, knowing everything that Cassian's been through, and knowing in the back of our minds that Bix is there waiting for him after they've won, and that he is 2 years away from his death. It's astonishing. It's devastating. And I don't love retconning in terms of this person was here the whole time and they actually did things physically to save the rebellion. Like, I'm okay with Galen Erso putting a hole in the Death Star because why was there a hole in the Death Star? Doesn't make any sense. But the idea that Cassian now has to make sure with every ounce of his body that the rebellion wins because Bix left him. Okay, you've left me. I have nothing left but this. And the reason you left me is because of this. I have to win. Everything Cassian does is to make sure that Bix's sacrifice was justified. And it also kind of makes a little bit more sense as to why they didn't do a whole Jyn Erso Cassian Andor relationship. They kind of alluded to it, but they really didn't do anything. They hugged and shared a look at the end. And that's because Cassian has Bix that he still needs to go home to at some point. But we know that can't happen. And I've never reviewed something, ever, that made me emotional just talking about it. And it was in that moment I was like, this is just different. It's different. And I get it. Some people are like, oh, Darth Vader would never condone sexual assault, so I'm out on this TV show. Yeah, as if he didn't choke out his pregnant wife. Is it Star Wars? Is it not? Who gives a shit? It's incredible. Like, who could watch something this good and say, yeah, but it doesn't quite fit what I think Star Wars should be? You're a sad human being. Just enjoy it while it's on, because next week it's over. Bix is the reason Cassian Andor is the person he is. For lack of a better term, she created the monster that is Cassian Andor. I don't mean monster in a bad way, but monster in terms of he will not stop until the Death Star plans reach Mon Mothma. That is next level shit. I got nothing else to say, dude. If you're not watching this, I mean, I just spoiled a lot for you, but you should be. If you are watching it, let me know your thoughts. Comment away. Hit that like button and subscribe. It is free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys. And I'll see you next time.